Good morning, traders. Welcome back to the channel. So we had PPI come out at 8:30 this morning, and it caused a little bit of volatility. I'm gonna say this: Bitcoin was selling off before we got the PPI numbers, so take that with what you will. You can see up here, I have the levels marked. This was your old all-time high right there at 123.231 spot 07, and then your highest daily close of all time, which is 123.365 spot 63. You didn't spend much time above that level, because right here is today's open, and this is a 30-minute chart. So literally a couple hours you spent trading above the all-time high before the midnight session started, and then London came in and sold it too, and this is what we got. So New York's about to open. Right here is those levels. Sorry, I was on the wrong screen. Right there. So high day close, all-time high. 2 hours above those levels and then down. And then this was your London session through here, a bit of chop slop, and then right here is PPI. And it dumped. Over here on this chart, you can see the CME gap that has not been filled yet, excuse me, until this news. As you can see, if you go below this wick low right there, this was your news candle here, and it did in fact take out this swing low. It is testing the monthly VWAP, and that would be a midpoint test of this gap. So we don't know if the gap is filled yet or not. So that's what we're going to have to take going into today's session on Bitcoin. So if you're looking to be a buyer on Bitcoin, then clearly down here around the August volume weighted average price might be a good area to be a buyer. Now, when we came into this week, we actually thought we were going to see a pullback into like 113-ish to try to take out some of that liquidity that's on the downside. And I'm pretty sure it was on the weekly chart right here. So we were looking for prices to push down into this stuff this week. So I mean, after it goes up, smacks the all-time high, is it now going to come back and get this stuff? There's a good possibility. So be very careful if you are buying today's VWAP. This thing could melt off much harder today. So keep that in mind. All right. So as far as positions go, I took a short on Ethereum right before the news. Ethereum, I mean, it was basing out up there as resistance. This is clearly not a bearish chart, but Ethereum has just been rocking and rolling. It was just a small scalp, and I took a short on Farcoin early this morning, like 2 o'clock around the London session. So I'm currently sitting in those two trades right here. Trading the ranges, just looking for an intraday near-term correction. If we go look at IWM and other markets, we're going to see that a lot of markets are struggling here. A lot of markets are pulling back. Here is your IWM. Let's go look at it 30 minutes so you can see just how big of a pullback this is. It's literally taking out almost every bit of yesterday's upside swing in just one 30-minute candle. Now, we had a long going on in IWM because everybody else was bearish. There was a massive short position built up on this. And the fact that we rejected the yearly opening range back over here, when we pulled up into this area, the sellers did not jump back on it like we would have expected to see. It instead traded sideways here, very choppy. So we bought this, expecting this to happen. And it did, in fact, happen. Today, hopefully it opens and we get a bounce at least, and then we'll look into maybe closing that trade out. I don't know how this PPI data is going to affect the market going forward. We did get a higher CPI print. That's also coming into effect. Right now, nothing has changed on the FedWatch tool, but when the market opens, that literally could change. We will see. All right, and then here's your PPI data. For those of you that do not have it or did not see it, right there. Big beat. Huge beat. So basically, this is just telling the markets we got a little bit of rising inflation here. The Fed isn't really in a good position to cut rates, in a sense. That's what you're seeing happen today. So there's your numbers. If you want to pause it or whatever, go ahead and pause the video. I don't really care about these numbers. Clearly, the market does. The way that I view news is simple. The market was already going to go ahead and do what it was going to do anyway. And they just used the volatility of the news to basically, not they, when I say they, I mean price. Price just uses the volatility of the news to essentially reprice into another area or go look for liquidations. I don't think there's a quote unquote they that are out there searching for our stops, right? As retail traders, there's only so many places where we can put them. You know what I mean? It makes them very easy to get. That is a good cup of Joe right there. Yum. All right. So yeah, if you don't have your coffee, go ahead and get your coffee ready. We're going to see if we can make some money today. Didn't really have a very good day yesterday. I mean, as far as the stock trades go, we did okay. I mean, and also if we look at Amazon, we are also long Amazon. Amazon is not being affected at all with these numbers. You can see that it did have a slight effect to it, but it has in a sense been bought right back up. So could this happen across the board today? Yeah, it could. You know what I mean? Like if we don't see the markets repositioning for no rate cut, then the markets could simply just continue to melt up for the rest of the year, right? If the Fed is going to just continue to stay on this rate cutting, like monetary policy, this easing cycle, then obviously price can just continue to be bullish. So I don't want to jump out of the IWM trade at the bell. I'm going to give it time and see what happens across the board. As far as our alts go, because we like to trade everything on this channel, Bitcoin and alts, we're going to let Bitcoin do its own thing. Like I said, there's a ton of liquidity down here. So if Bitcoin wants to continue to go grab that, I'm okay with it, as I do have that short Ethereum open and a short Fartcoin open. So I should be covered on both bases. We all know that Ethereum has utility, though it is not the thing that you typically want to be shorting, especially in a very big bullish market. But we'll see what happens today, right? I am not going to allow Fartcoin to start closing 30-minute candles back above the weekly 21 exponential moving average. That is this gold line right here. That's your weekly charts 21 EMA. Basically, the way that I view the markets is if you are closing weekly candles or if price is failing to trade above that 21, then you're a lot weaker than you appear to be, right? Because a strong market, you should have no problems trading above the 21 weekly. Very, very simply done right through here. You can see how it was never in question for these 3 weeks. This week, it was never in question. It's only came into question recently. Last week, we did close back above it, so that did look good. And this week, we did see upside continuation above last week's high, which is also July's open. Pardon the chainsaw in the background if you can hear that. I apologize. The tree guys are not done yet. Hopefully they finished this today. It was not that big of a tree. I don't understand what's going on. Back in the day, I would have done it myself. Anyways, here we are. We're rejecting last week's high, right? Rejecting last week's high. So that's not all in all bullish. Now that just happened. That just happened right here. We were not rejecting it all week. It actually was holding pretty good. It was today that you've seen that move. So we'll see what happens here, but I'm watching June's open for potential resistance for lower if it wants to go lower. If it gets above this and closes above it, then I'll probably exit that short position and take my money. All right. But I'm going to leave ETH open. I have a stop loss out on Ethereum, so that one's good to just leave as is. It's already too small of a position size to take profits, so I'm not going to be bothered with that. The fart coin up 1,000, I'll take it, right? It's been a slow week. I can't complain with that. As far as that goes, I'm looking across the board here, and I'm seeing a whole lot of red. It's on the alts and cryptos, right? So here's the totals, others, and alts charts. Watch list. You can see Bitcoin's down 3.8% this morning. Ethereum's down almost 5%. Damn. Book of Meme is down almost 9%. You got Pepe down almost 9%. Fartcoin down 8%. Height down 5%. You can see where I'm going with this, right? A lot of red out there. I was long bonk yesterday. That trade ended up getting stopped out. We basically had a wash day yesterday. It was basically a wash because I was looking for short farts and I was long bonk. I did make a little bit of money, but not really much of anything. So kind of just a wash. Well, anyways, last night as Fartcoin pushed up, the bonk trade got stopped. Or this morning, this got stopped out. So I'm no longer setting in long bonks. I was basically holding short Fartcoin and long bonk. So those two positions were essentially canceling each other out. So even if bonk would have continued to rise today, I would have had to get out of the fart short in order to make money on that trade. I just had a feeling that something wasn't right. We weren't, like, yesterday was a good day. We should have seen some of these things just absolutely kicking tail. Bitcoin was up so good, up so strong. When you make fresh all-time highs like this, I want to see upside continuation. Maybe not on an intraday chart like this, but what I do not like to see ever is when you purge those levels and then reject, as that screams more weakness than strength because you can't stay above the levels. We've seen Fartcoin doing this all last week as it was pushing up in. You see it better on a 4-hour chart here. You see how it was just getting above these liquidation points and then instantly failing. And then here's a breakout. We should have seen this thing go up more. It didn't. It goes right back into just taking out highs and rejecting. And then, of course, we've seen that big down day. And then here again, right through here. Oh, where did my thing go? Gotta wait for it to pop up here. I don't know where it is. There we go. Yeah, so you can see basically how these wicks right in here, wick, like that doesn't scream strength to me. It's not always bearish because we've seen that happen on Jasmine as well. Like it was just wick. But the sellers couldn't get the downside continuation either. So you just get into this period where you can't see the buyers get upside continuation. You don't see the sellers get downside, just sideways chop. And that to me isn't like what I want to see when a market is breaking out above all-time highs. Now, Jasmine is not breaking out above all-time highs. It's only Bitcoin, and Ethereum was threatening to break out above all-time highs. Here is your all-time high on Ethereum. Like, damn, dude, you're right there. So, like I said, this could be bought up today. This is a decent-sized correction. It's actually the biggest correction we've seen on a 30-minute basis or an hourly basis than we've seen since this move started to go up. So this could get bought up. I don't know if it will, but if you do want to buy it, I would look to be as a buyer on at least as close to the lows as possible, right? If you think Ethereum is going to go up there and jack that all-time high up. But I mean, Bitcoin hasn't been able to get upside continuation. It did the same thing last time it made an all-time high. I mean, this is your last all-time high right here. You smoked the all-time high and you instantly rejected. Then you went into this long-ass 4-week period where you just chopped sideways to down, setting fresh lows. This was a low, then this low, now that low. Then we go up, we smoke the high and instantly reject. I don't love that. It's not the Bitcoin of old. The Bitcoin of old would have smoked that high and not looked back for like 2 weeks. It would have just simply been hauling tail to the upside. So let's see what kind of ETF flows we got yesterday. See if we had like heavy ETF inflows. Today is the 14th of August, so we will be looking at the 13th of August data. Well, I didn't do a live stream for the public yesterday. The live stream was for the Discord only. So let's go ahead and look at both the 12th and 13th. You can see there is not a lot of ETF inflows here on Wednesday. Not a lot, or sorry, on Tuesday. And then this would be your Wednesday data. Same. Look at the inflows up here. 91, 277, 403, 178. So just bigger, right? The last 2 days, the inflows, kind of a nothing burger. I mean, it's better than outflows, but it's still kind of a nothing burger. And we're seeing Bitcoin give us nothing burger price action. So yeah, there's that. Also, daily exchange volumes. We are seeing an uptick on this. And this couldn't be good or bad, right? Because heavier volumes could indicate selling pressure. Right here is that uptick that we've been seeing this week. Very, very strong uptick. Now, if it was breaking out and moving higher, I would use this to basically correlate that with the upside breakout, right? But since we broke out and rejected, then it looks like, you know, the uptick in volumes could also be attributed to selling pressure. Selling pressure. Let's be honest, guys. People are going to take profits on Bitcoin, especially when, you know, there is uncertainty out there. It is what it is. So there it is. Let's go look at our fear and greed index while we got the bell. So we did have a downtick into the 50s on the stock market. We're back up to 75 on crypto. Clearly, if crypto continues to roll over today, this is going to have a pullback. Right now, you're seeing the stock market at 65. So it's still very bullish sentiment out there across the board. Good morning, says Janet Stott. What's up, Janet? Good morning, KF Bravo. Reporting for duty and booty, says Madge. Madge is always here for the booty. Love it. Love it. Peter, what's happening? And Lifestyle Media, good morning, champ. Green, dreaming, mean. Crazy manipulation in the markets, says Felipe. It is, but you and I are market manipulators as well. Anytime we put in a buy order or a sell order, we are manipulating the market. So I don't know if I would call this market manipulation. I would just simply call it profit taking by people who wanted to go ahead and take profits at all-time highs. It's as simple as that. I mean, that's generally when you want to take profits, in highs, when you're making fresh highs, not in lows, right? Now, while you're making lows, you want to wait for the highs, the high swings. So yeah, I would just call it profit taking. I mean, this also might have broader implications for the Fed's rate cutting cycle. We don't know yet. We won't know until the market has time to price that in. We also have OpX tomorrow, which is an options market expiration. It's not triple witching. That only happens at the end of the quarter, but it is still a big volatile time for the markets. That will be tomorrow. You have an AM settlement period on the ES futures, NQ futures, things like that. So we could just be seeing a lot of rotations here, capital rotations. Basically, Bitcoin's at highs. I want to move that money back into gold. We can see gold is not breaking down. It kind of is today. We do have a gold short on. We've been setting it for a long time. This weak dollar has not helped the gold shorts, but you can even see with a weak dollar, well, the last 2 days the dollar was weak. Last 2 days gold was not really strong when it should have been. If the dollar's weak, gold should be strong, and it wasn't. So it looks like a lot of people are rotating capitals right now, capital rotations. But I would like to see gold roll over here. But if the market is going to position themselves for higher inflation, then obviously gold is not something that you want to be short. We are short gold based on a breakdown of a triangle pattern. It's literally that simple. Right? It's a technical analysis pattern, and it broke down. So we were looking to short the retest, and it just hasn't worked out yet. Right there was your breakdown. Right here. Went right into the June open, found support there, and then bounced back up to the area that we were looking for resistance to hold. It didn't. It slowly migrated up. We took a put spread, as they're easier to mitigate risk with a put spread than it is to just buy or just short stock, or, you know, this XAU, which is gold futures. This tracks the futures. Gold futures move. They're big movers. Gotta have big money to trade GC, which is gold futures contracts. All right, so yeah, we're waiting for gold to break down, but if the risk market's going to break down, then gold might not break down. It might break back to the upside. So we're going to pay attention to gold. If we start closing 4-hour candles back up above this candle right here, I will exit that gold short position. As I've been setting in it now for 13 days. We shorted it here when we traded back up into resistance, so it's been a minute. You know what I mean? Luckily, we bought the premium way out in time, so we're not getting killed on theta decay. However, you know, it will start to kill us if we don't get out of it soon. The trade is actually just break even right now. So as long as we're right in this area, we're break even on the short. So I'd love to see a retest of June's open and a failure there. We're actually short GLD instead of gold futures. We're short this with a put spread, and our spread stops at 303. So that would be max profit. And the reason we the reason we organized the spread like that was because this down here is support. So it's a good trade. It just, gold hasn't been doing anything. It's just been sideways for multiple days. The Amazon trade is up nicely though. All right, so we're getting a bounce on the S&P 500. Let me get you up there so you can basically see that. To manage those shorts, as Fartcoin is getting a pretty sizable bounce. So let's see, we got 23 minutes left on this candle. Let's go check the small time frames to see if we are trading inside of a trend. We are on the 1 minute. You can see that you're basically holding this. The 50 is what we want to see hold. It looks like you're losing the downtrend here on Fartcoin. The market just opened, so we haven't lost anything yet, but I want to see that weekly 21 EMA and that June open area hold as resistance. If we get above that, then clearly I'm going to be exiting that short because I got a lot of money on that one. I want to keep that. I don't want to lose that. It's the Ethereum short that I'm not very concerned with. As far as levels to watch on Ethereum, I really don't have any. Let me see here. Like Ethereum, you're trading right at yesterday's low. I would probably rather watch yesterday's open. But even then, that's not like... You got weekly res right there. The weekly res is coming in around 46.30. It's just a high week close. It doesn't mean it will hold as resistance, but it is an objective price point to help you manage risk from. So here's yesterday's open, and then that's your high week close. Looking at the 30-minute, your 100 exponential moving average is also coming in up there around that high week close. So if you have a bearish bias on Ethereum, I don't know why you would, because this thing has been nothing but bullish. But if you do, this would be the area that I would be interested in potentially looking to add to the short position if it could get up there. If it fails to close back above this previous 30-minute candle high, then the sellers might not even let it get back up there. We just have to wait and see. The VIX is gapping up back above the 2025 low. Melt today. They could, but I'm not looking for that. Let me go back over here so I can restore these charts. Does look like Bitcoin is trying, it's at least testing the bottom. Oh my goodness, your advanced decline line is getting, it's way down here. So basically that PPI number is hurting all stocks. We went from up here yesterday all the way down here. Now, this is a year-long chart. It's not to January. It's all the way to last August. It's year long, not year to date. All year. You can see when it gets down here, that's pretty much really close to where this usually bottoms. Now, if we have a very big red day today, and this does come down in here, I wouldn't be looking to buy the low just yet. The area that I would be interested in potentially being a buyer again on, say, the S&P 500 would be a test of the low edge of the weekly expected move. That's way down here. So you can see yesterday we tested that. It acted as intraday resistance, and now we're gapping down. So we'll see if we get a big sell side, but this blue line means you're unchanged on the week. This isn't the weekly open, but it's last week's close. This is last week's closing price. So under here, I could look for shorts down to here. That is a very scalpable range. As you can see, that's 63.90. And then this is going to be 63.04. That's almost a 90-point move. Right? So there's a lot of potential profitability in that. But I would be very, very keen in buying that. We have to wait and see what this does. Does this start to decline? Let's see. It isn't yet. So the market just opened, but it isn't yet. It's still saying that they are predicting rate cuts. Maybe not a 50, maybe they were going to do a 50 basis point. Maybe it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. We can try to predict what they're going to do, but that's not going to help us manage risk. We'll just watch specific levels and let price tell us what it's doing, and then we'll look for trades in that direction. Today we have a pop in volatility, so today I have no problem looking for shorts, right? Just for intraday scalps, not long term. I'm not looking for the markets to roll over at all. Every 3, 5, and 10% correction, in my opinion, on this asset can be a buying op. So from where we were yesterday, that is an all-time high, down to here is only a 2% correction. This was a perfect 3% correction last week. So here's your all-time high. Go down to these lows, 3.33%. Now, clearly they bought it. So watch for your 3% correction first before you want to be a buyer. That'll put us, let's go 3.5, right? Let's get crazy. So I could be a buyer as low as 62.52. Then I would wait for a 5% correction, or I would close this short or this long out and then look to buy it again at 5. And then if you get under 5, you could watch 7, but there's a gap way down here around 10. Maybe it wants to fill that gap. But anything at 10%, I'm buying that. Oh, 7% would fill the gap. That is a legit gap that has not been filled. That would be a 7% correction. But like I said, the markets are still bullish. Very bullish. Very, very bullish. Where's Ethereum at? Because this is the one we're very interested in here. Still struggling at the last 30-minute session high. ES is testing its intraday VWAP. What's up, Oxum? Here's your intraday VWAP on the ES. So you've already broken back above it on the NQ, but the NQ doesn't respect it as often or as good sometimes. Well, sometimes the ES doesn't respect it either. I mean, it did respect it here, and you did ultimately roll over, so that was later in the day, wasn't it? Yeah, it was super late. Where's a good, right here is a good, where you didn't respect it to the downside, broke out, and then got a little bit of upside continuation. So yeah, it's testing that right now. See if it continues to break out, or does it find resistance here? If it finds resistance here, then you could short looking for a 10-point move lower. That's all I ever look for. 10 points. So let's put this on a 5-minute chart. I don't like the 15-minute chart. Not when I'm looking to potentially put on a trade. So basically, I'd wait for this 5-minute candle to close, which is going to be 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Then throw on the short, right? As soon as it closes. And then if you get an upside expansion, you can get out. It's that simple. You will only lose 5 points. That's the risk. We're risking 5 points to make 10. So let's pull up the SPX cash market, as it'll be the exact same thing. So we're looking for this candle to close. And then we're going to throw on a short. The market's super bullish, and shorts often do not work in a super bullish market. So I'll do this via put options, and I'm going to go out 15 days. I'm just going to buy an at the money put 15 days out as soon as that candle closes, or close to the close, right? Like here in like 30 seconds we can put it on, or start to try to get filled. Because the thinking is if it's going to roll over based on that intraday VWAP, then this should be like a trap, right? As it's already stopping all these people out that's already shorted based on the VWAP. They're already getting stopped out right now. So if it is going to roll over, we will want to see that happen pretty soon. So I'm going to go ahead and send out an order and see if I can get a fill. Ethereum is pushing up into the level that we are wanting to watch. So keep that on watch. I need to get that chart on a smaller time frame so I can see what's what. And that's going to be the high week close is 42.27. So, right. Wait, 46.27. I'm going to put a limit sell out there at that price. I just got filled on the S&P put. Now we'll see what happens here. Basically, we want to see this candle open, maybe push a little bit above the high and then roll over. If it just keeps digging, then we don't want to be in it, right? Because we're wrong. But we got 5 minutes, right? That we wait for the close. We got to see how it closes. It could push up here the first couple minutes. I don't mind that. 5 points of risk for me is about $20 of a loss. So above $20, if I'm in the red above $20, then I just bail, right? And then 46.27, wasn't it, on Ethereum? Yes. So I want to put out a limit sell up there on that. Just a little bit. Just to make the position size a little bit bigger. Let me see what that would be. Yeah, that looks okay. All right. So 46.27. No. 46.27. Okay. So yeah, that's all we can do as traders. We can only look at levels and see if price rejects those levels. If it doesn't, then we have to get out of our shorts, right? It's that simple. So Ethereum did fill me and it did drop my cost basis. It is pushing heavy, and that's based on that big drop on dominance. So Bitcoin might be finding support. All these markets might have found support. This is pushing up much deeper than I wanted to see it push. I still have plenty of risk though. Clearly it's up more than 5 points because I used near-term options instead of the actual ES futures contract. Much higher than 5 points. But on the MES options that I got filled on, I'm only down $11. So I have room here to let it work. But it doesn't look like it's going to. Clearly this thing is... We're seeing a slight pullback here, slight give back. And then here's what it looks like on the Ethereum trade. Well, let's see now what the ES does here. Is it going to, oh, that's ETH. Sorry. Where is the SPX? Oh, we've already pushed down. I was looking at the Ethereum chart instead of the ES. But this is what we want to see. Something like this, right? Now, if it is going to reject that intraday VWAP, which it isn't now, this isn't the intraday VWAP, but the intraday VWAP on the ES futures is roughly in this area. So we'll look at this and say if it doesn't fail down here, if it starts to hold as support here, then it's looking like people are buying that VWAP test. We want to see it reject this. Maybe put in a fresh daily low, come back at some point, test it from underneath. And then if that happens and it holds, then we'll know that we might be on the right side of the near-term trend. Here's your 1 minute moving average structure. Obviously, you're choppy and sideways, and choppy sideways, the moving averages do not help. It's only when you get in a period of trending conditions where they do work, right? Like through here was an obvious trending condition. Breakout, retest the 200, and then basically you don't ever even lose the 100. You do right here briefly, and then you gap up. So that's a trend. If that's going to happen for us today, then we need to see this reject this and start to make lower lows. That's not what's happening. Not yet. If you look at a 30-minute chart on Ethereum, it actually looks like a breakdown failure. That's a big boy candle. Now this is where I want to see resistance hold. My entry is roughly right about here. On Week's platform, which is the futures platform that I use to trade, it's actually, my entry says I'm at 46.85. I know you heard me get filled at 46.27, but I was already in it from the all-time up in here, like not the all-time high, but up here. So it just brought my cost basis down because I just made the position size bigger. It's too small. If it rolls over and trends down all day, I want to be in it with at least a standard position size. If I'm going to risk money, I want to at least make it worth my while. Tesla did fail that triangle breakdown. Let's go look at Tesla real quick while we're waiting for the ES and SM, or the ES and Ethereum to fail. So Tesla broke out of this triangle formation here. Let me go out to a 4-hour and shrink it for anybody that's new. Now, the real range that Tesla is trading in is May's monthly candle. So price has been trading inside of May's high and inside of May's low for 4 months. You can clearly see that when you look at the monthly chart. This is how I analyze price. Here is your May candle. So you can get rid of the May open. You can get rid of all these lines right here. This is the range, right? So until you break out of that with upside continuation, you are still in a 1, 2, 3, 4 month range. Now the trend on Tesla for the year is down. Here's your yearly open. You set a yearly high, and then you made a downside expansion. You took out this low, made a lower low, right? So this is your trending move. This would be a dead cat bounce if Tesla's going to be bearish. This was a dead cat bounce, and now we're looking at a Wyckoff distribution formation, only on a larger time scale. But when you look at it like on a 4-hour and a daily, you can see that, yeah, you are still in the larger term range, but there is a trend line here. Trend lines are subjective. I try to analyze price as objective as possible, as it helps me make better trading decisions. You did break out of this triangle, and it did fail the breakdown. There was a downside push as well. So right in here, you tried to break down and failed. So this should be a breakout. So you should see upside continuation, at least up to May's high, if this pattern breakout holds. So that's what you have currently on the large time frame on Tesla. So you need to be positioning yourself on an intraday basis as long as you're not trading under the 30-minute 100 exponential. So when on the intraday charts, we don't really care about any other moving average. We only care about that 30-minute 100. Sorry, that's the 30-minute 50. We only really care about this one. This one does a pretty good job of showing you where the near-term trend is. You can see that you're currently losing it. So you have to be very careful about being a buyer right here, right now. What you can do is you can watch objective supports. There's one. Here's one. Okay? So you could potentially be a buyer here or here. And if these two areas fail, you have to stop trying to be a buyer, right? Because you could be losing the trend. This could be a failure to break out. And if it becomes a failed breakout, then we would expect it to come back to the middle of the range. So Tesla is trying to find support. We'll see if it does or not. If it does, there is a larger move that can be traded here. Because sometimes when these patterns form real good like this, when you do get the breakouts, you will see measured moves happen. So on a technical basis, there's a measured move back up to the yearly opening range. So we can structure our trade with a spread, like we could buy the 370, sell the 390s or something like that to mitigate the risk and make it a much cheaper trade. You could potentially sell 290 puts and then buy that call spread, use the puts to fund the call spread. There's a million different ways we could structure a trade looking for a larger breakout move. And this looks really good. I'm not even going to joke around. I mean, it could break down today, but it looks good. It looks like it is trying to build in support here. As you have failed to go higher from the breakout point, but you've also failed to go lower than the support zones. It might do it today, but we won't know until we get all of today's data. That's what we're looking at on Tesla for the larger term. Now, as far as S&P 500, it closed back up. So I'm probably wrong on this short. So I wanted to see this candle fail and then it roll over. It did not do that. You're actually pushing. So there could be a larger move coming. So if you want to go ahead and exit that trade, you can. For me, it's a very small loss. It's a $12.50 loss. We're sitting on roughly about $450 worth of P&L that's open on the long IWM, the short gold, and long Amazon. So as far as the loss on this, it is very manageable, right? Very manageable. We're doing okay. Doing okay. Basically, if we do break down, though, for me, I think it would be a larger move down to here. That's if it breaks down. That's the whole key for today. Figuring out if these things are going to break down or not. Even though dominance is pushed back down into these lows, if Bitcoin is weak, then it will keep, it could, it won't, it's not a guaranteed thing, but it could keep sell side pressure on your alts. BART and Ethereum, right? This is the level that we want to see Ethereum reject if it's going to. So for now, we'll just sit and hold this and see what happens. That's all we can do for now. We're in the trades that we wanted to take. We'll see if they play out, or do we need to manage those positions? Clearly, if it continues to hold support, then we're going to have to manage the position by closing it. But we'll see. What's up, King Money? News crash. Read that. Greetings, boss, says VT Billions. I'm not your boss. I'm just a random dude trying to help you learn how to trade these markets and manage your risk the right way, so that way you can build your wealth over time. What's up, Oxum? I don't see Oxum. Did he change his name? KF Bravo Madge Peter. Yeah. Haven't seen him in a minute. No sound, says King Money. What? Maybe try refreshing. Yeah. Haven't seen him in a minute. Yeah, I have sound on my end. I don't know why you don't. Let me see something here. That looks good. That looks good. On that. Okay, I found the problem. The sound is when we're up on the big screen. I had that mic muted. Apologies. But yeah, sound on the other three screens are working just fine. On my end. So thank you for telling me that. I did not know. Thank you. All right. With that being said, Ethereum pushing to the downside a little bit here. That's what we want to see. And ES is still pushing to the upside. That is not what we want to see. But maybe it's a little bit early. We're seeing Apple push lower. We're seeing MSFT, Microsoft, push lower, which is just pushing back into the volume weighted average price on an intraday basis. Nvidia is pushing up to daily highs. Now, that is lower. Those daily highs are lower. Over here's your daily on Nvidia, but you're trading up at the daily highs. So this one kind of needs to roll over for us to see NQ roll over and ES roll over. So I haven't closed it yet. It is pushing, and if it's probably going to push hard right here. So if you're still in it, you should really think about getting out. I don't know how you managed your risk on this, but it definitely is not working yet. We're trading well above it. If it fails to break out, then maybe you can still hold it. But I mean, make sure your risk is close, because these things can get going. If Apple continues to push on lows, Tesla continues to push on lows, this continues to push lower. And if this fails, then it will work, right? But gold is pushing lower. We might be seeing a breakdown on gold today, which would be good for us as we are short gold. But Ethereum is failing to break down. What's Fartcoin doing? It is starting to roll over, but that is not a breakdown by any stretch of the imagination. Moving average structure looks good. As long as it holds the 100, I'm going to like it. And then there's the 30 second. So it is looking okay too, but notice how your volume's dried up here. They're not really getting that downside push from sellers. This is dangerous, as a volume spike could happen and push this thing right back up. Where is my volume? That is the wrong volume. That's the volume, cumulative volume delta. It says that the bulls still want to push. I don't want that volume. There. That volume, please. There we go. So yeah, if you get bigger than average spikes of volume here on up moves, then you could see this reverse. But I don't like that those candles dried up. And it's not on light volume. I mean, some of these are above average. So that just shows you that people are literally trying to put on short positions down here. That's not how you need to short. You need to be shorting higher prices, not lows. I don't think that's daily lows. It's probably close. Yeah, it's real close to daily lows. What I would love to see today is a bearish engulfing. We already have that, but it could go back up. If it goes back up, you're going to have a bullish engulfing at the end of the day, which is not bearish. It's the opposite of bearish. But for right now, we would love to see this get downside continuation and end up closing a candle that looks like that, right? That would be great. But since we're already down 8% right here, getting down to here would be like a 16% day. We don't usually look for that. We know that Fartcoin on average moves anywhere between 5 and 10% on an average daily range. That's from, 5 to 10%. It's a mover. It moves. Be careful trading Fartcoin. That's why we love it. Because it has that volatility, and we love that volatility. We also love it when it starts trending. All right, so the ES did not go higher. It failed the highs. It's not rolling over yet, but it's not breaking out either. So far, so good. If we get a big breakdown, that would be real good. What's the VIX doing? The VIX is still well under the midpoint of the daily range. That isn't good for downside moves on risk markets. Gold also pushing. Hang on, let me fix that chart. I have saved and saved and saved this chart 1,000 times to where it's not so bright. But for whatever reason, every time I restart, it comes back up as the old chart where it's just solid white. But here's your GLD breaking down. I like this to make these markets up here bullish. But it doesn't have to. But this could just be breaking down because of dollar strength. But you can clearly see where the support held when it tried to break down earlier on into the week. Basically, you got your 200 EMA and then your 200 simple on a 4-hour basis. That's what held support. 200 EMA is right here. 200 simple is down here. So that's why you struggled to break down here the other day. So I said I was going to manage the trade via this trend line. If it got back inside this range up in here, I was going to exit with a small loss. But this looks good for downside continuation. Now all we need is time and continuation. 303 is our downside target. Fartcoin failing to break down here. Was a pretty good sized move. Let's go look at we need to look at our ratios, because our ratios will let us know if the larger market participants are positioning themselves for higher inflation, right? We want to see that. We're not really seeing that in the XLK versus the XLP. This is going to be growth versus value. So when it's going up, that's the opposite of inflationary fears, and it is going up. I mean, this week is a very small range correction at best. We see a big dump candle or a candle that looks like this and then this, then we can say, you know, at least on the near term, they are positioning for higher inflation. As of right now, you don't have that. So people are not positioning for inflation yet. I mean, this one's expanding to the upside. Same thing. That is the opposite of inflationary positioning. Here's your SPY versus XLP. This is your defensive staples versus, or SPY versus defensive staples. This you want to see rolling over for inflationary or recessionary fears. It is not. It is going up. In fact, one could arguably say that you've taken out last week's high, which is the opposite of bearish. Bearish is when you're taking out lows. The last 2 weeks, you could say, maybe, right? This week, not really. And this one is the opposite. So when it goes down, this is the energy sector versus SPY. When it goes down, that is not inflationary. This is what it looks like when you have inflationary fears. You see this accelerate to the upside. It is not accelerating to the upside. It is trending, and it is continuation. So we're not seeing bigger market participants. Here's your dollar or UUP versus the SPY. Same thing. It's going in the right direction for upside continuation on the risk assets. Yeah, not seeing heavy risk out there. What is the Japanese yen doing today? The Japanese yen is important because if you're seeing it climb, that could be indicative of risk off. Yeah, you're not seeing that. You were seeing that earlier today, but when the news broke, it gave it all back. Now you're seeing downside on the yen. Downside yen is constructive. It's good for risk markets. Because if the yen starts to climb, starts to get in a risk off period, then people will start exiting their Nvidia trades, their Nvidia longs, their Tesla longs, things like that. It will cause an unraveling of the risk markets. So we're short USD JPY, but we're short USD JPY for dollar weakness, not for yen strength. It's a trending asset, right? It was trending down this year. It went into a 4-month consolidation. We just wanted to see if that trend would resume. As of right now, it kind of has been. It has been the last 2 days, but now with that news, you got a upside swing on the dollar. So the breakdown here failed today. This is going to be a breakdown failure if it closes up here today. So if you are short up here like me, then you might want to think about taking those gains, or at least taking some of them, and we will have to look for USD weakness in another pair. This might not be the best pair on a macro basis to look for, USD weakness. We do want to look for USD weakness long term, as long as the Fed stays in a rate easing cycle. We think that will ultimately be, we'll see though, that doesn't mean it will, right? Because they started cutting rates back here, and you can see how the dollar did firm up. You can see that on the DXY as well. They started cutting rates back here in December, right? Just look at the Fed funds with the DXY. So here's when they started their rate cut. This actually spiked for a few months before ultimately rolling over. So a rate cut doesn't necessarily mean the dollar will roll over. But for the long-term positioning, we are looking to short the dollar. But we want to wait till the dollar gets up in this area around that May high before we start looking for those shorts. So we got time. We don't have to position now for dollar shorts. Right? I definitely do not want to be shorting the dollar at the yearly lows. That's not what I do. Okay, so the ES is continuing to push up. I'm probably going to just close that out. I mean, it's just a $16 loss still, but it's not doing what I wanted it to do. It is not rolling over. So however bad they took the news at the at the onset of getting the news, they're clearly buying it back up. This isn't the best asset to look at. Let's go look at the SPX 500. So I mean, you almost bought that entire news spike back up. Whereas Bitcoin is not, though. Has not. So Bitcoin is struggling, but it'll probably bounce. Ethereum not rolling over yet. This is why, shorting bull markets is not advised. The shorts don't work out as often. They just don't. And Tom says that we're at the 50 fib of August. Yeah, the 50% retracement, actually not a fib level, but it is the midpoint of the monthly range. Tom knows that. I'm just being a correction jerk. Tom's my boy. Tom knows I don't mean no harm. All right, let's go look. So let me get rid of that extension because it is the extension is good and it has been working. Here, I'll show you. Well, I can't show you. I have to get rid of everything in order for you to see it good, probably. So right here is the extension. You can see how it has been acting as resistance. Didn't act as resistance yesterday, but it's just an extension tool. Is just basically a targets tool if you are breaking out above all-time highs. But let's go back into the month and see what's what. I thought I already had that fibbed. I do not see it. So I deleted the fib, but yeah. Let's make this maroon monthly. Maroon. It's actually more purple than maroon, but whatever. Yes, you are right at the August midpoint. So this could act as support for sure. If people are looking for upside continuation on Bitcoin, they could be a buying here. Could be a buyer here. Not a buying. A DXY is not quite a bullish engulfing daily candle, but it's working on it. Wait, did it take out the lows yesterday? No. 97,626, 97,632. So it's a little bit higher. And not quite a bullish engulfing, but almost. I mean, it's close enough. Literally just a few pips. Like 1 or 2. So here's yesterday's low. Yeah, I mean, it is very, very close. Just barely. Not even a, yeah. Just barely. DXY also finding resistance at the midpoint, so bearish dollar, good for risk, good for Bitcoin. Usually. Are we seeing downside continuation on anything on the alt side? Looks like you're seeing a little bit of downside continuation on Bonk. Well, no, you're not. Not since the news. You're not seeing continuation on Bonk either. Not on Pingu. Not on XRP. So your total 2, total 3, others, none of them are seeing downside continuation yet. They're not experiencing massive growth either. Like, my trades are still okay. They're not great. I mean, the Fartcoin trade's great, but the Ethereum trade is thinking about it. Literally thinking about it. My entry short is here. So I would love to see it stop making higher highs. And see the Fartcoin profit is good. Ethereum, it's decent, but not great. If it rolls over, it will be great. But there's really nothing on the macro that suggests it will roll over. Just a scalp. Just looking for an intraday pullback. Fart's gassy today. Yes, it is. Very gassy. It's down 8.18%. Struggling to break down. Literally looks like the volume is dried up. I mean, you had big volumes after the news. Huge volumes. That could be, the bids. Look at all that. This is your August volume weighted average price. So we broke out above that. We broke down here, but that was a trap day because the very next day it went right back up. It's absolutely bananas. Look at this price action. Huge downside break. Huge upside recovery. So this is like the first time you're retesting August's VWAP since this fake out downside move. One could arguably be a buyer here. You've got an old 4-hour supply zone right there that you could watch to be a buyer at. Or you could watch to be a buyer at the old 4-hour res there. Resistance, all right? It's resistance until you close above it. But old resistance can act as support. So we'll see If it holds that price, then I might want to close that short and be a buyer if it gets back down there. You can see how it held perfectly and big volumes. Huge volume. Bigger volume than you experienced on the news breakdown. At that level. And you're not seeing continuation lower. But this is probably wanting to test the June open again at best. I don't know. It's like it just dried up. NQ pushing back up above the VWAP. ES came in for another VWAP test on an intraday basis. Right here, it's not breaking down. Your ADD still does not look good. Let's go look at the market watch. Well, I'm assuming that at the open, this chart was probably pretty damn red. Seeing how the ADD opened up at like negative 1400. This was probably pretty damn red. And you can see that they have literally been buying tech back up. And Amazon, nice and green. We go check the index watch, as that's another way to look at your advanced decline line. We want to pull up the S&P 100. Something's wrong. There we go. So as of right now, the structure still supports more of a down move than an up move, as you have 65 stocks that are declining and only 36 that are advancing. Once again, this is the biggest 100 companies, or the biggest 102 companies inside the S&P 500. You really only need to look at the top 100 because it's all the biggest companies. These are going to be the companies that dictate direction in that index. Bitcoin balancing a little bit here. Ethereum pushing up. I'm going to move my stop down a little bit on Ethereum so that way I don't lose any fees money either. So it's a little bit better than break even because Ethereum is pushing right back up. So the breakdown is failing here. This is going to be not your intraday, is it? Yeah, it is. Cool. So I did move it in the right spot. Intraday VWAP on Ethereum. It could roll over here. Let's hope it does. I mean, we don't hope it does. Clearly, there's a lot more people holding long Ethereums than there are people trying to make a couple $100 on a short today like me. But you get what I'm saying. Clearly, I would rather those people make a lot of money than me make a couple $100 on a short scalp. I happen to be an owner of Ethereum also. I didn't know that until I looked. I own $69 worth of Ethereum. So I'm a baller when it comes to Ethereum ownership. Baller. I didn't even know I owned that. I thought I got rid of all my Ethereum because Ethereum was garbage for a long time. I mean, you can just look at the BTC versus the ETH versus BTC chart. I mean, it broke out, obviously, right? So this is why Ethereum has been so strong, because it's broken out. But for all of 2024 and most of 2025, it was not looking good. But it is now. I mean, ETH versus BTC today is on highs. Look at that. At above yesterday's highs. So I am out of the Ethereum short. I'm getting ready to get out of the Fartcoin short as well. Keep my $900. I'm going to keep my $900. My position on Ethereum is a lot better than my position was on Ethereum. By me moving, adding to the position side, that was just an absolute muck up of a positioning on my end, right? I should have went into it with a full-size position to begin with. It was an accident. I wasn't paying attention to the position bar. But yeah, 1 5-minute closure above the VWAP it doesn't really indicate anything. Multiple closures above the intraday VWAP does, however. It definitely indicates that you're not it's not rolling over, right? You are seeing an upside push on ES as well. So ES is back to green on the day. Your cash market opened up and has been green all morning. So Bitcoin looks like it's trying to find support. Same goes for the rest of your markets, FART and Ethereum. I mean, Fartcoin structure, even though that is a nasty looking 4-hour candle, it looks like a retest of support. I should have bought that down there. I actually thought it was going to give me another push down, but it didn't. It failed right through here. I should have knew something was up. That's a failure to get downside continuation. You just trade sideways in a straight line. Piano keys. You've totally given back that down move on NASDAQ. All of it. So what's IWM doing? Is that pushing up as well? That would be fantastic. No. Come on, man. NASDAQ has already given all of that move back. It's your turn. Amazon's still pushing? Nope, it stopped. It's consolidating. We should... Let me see what we got left on that Amazon trade. We still got plenty of time. We still got plenty of money. If it continues to go up, we sold way out to the 240s. Yeah, we're short up here. We're long at 220, right? Because we bought a spread. Anything above 220, we're in the money. But max profit starts to come in up here. We still have $12 of potential profitability to make on this trade. So I'll leave that up to you, whether or not you want to close it. For me, right now, this trade is up $365. That ain't bad. That's about a 50% return on investment. Not bad. And your VIX is rolling over. You have broken back under that midpoint and you are breaking down. That's going to help the market stay bullish. So we got to get out of that MES short. It'd be a $21 loss if I get filled right here. And I did. So boom, boom, that's done. We took a swing and we missed, right? It happens. When you manage your risk the right way, it's okay. Not bad. Lost 20 bucks. Damn, I'll never recover. On a day when the account is up almost 500 bucks, a $20 loss is insignificant. Insignificant. I got good sound, says Cassidy. Yeah. 69 is a good sign, though. Yep. It is. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. All right, Fartcoin, what are you doing here? You're down 6%. It traded right up to that 21 exponential, the weekly 21. Let's see if that acts as resistance. See if the buyers on Fart are done or not. That's also going to be a daily supply zone. That is completely by accident, as that is Tuesday's open, which literally is Tuesday's candle. No, it's Wednesday's candle. Why did I write Tuesday's open? I didn't write anything. What am I talking about? That's Wednesday's open. It says Tuesday, but 2000 hours is Wednesday's open. That's the 8 p.m. candle, or the 8 p.m. open. Look at it go. Ooh, you're undervalued down here. Not a lot of volume in this area, so people are not shorting. You don't have a lot of volume here, so there's not a lot of people watching this level. That's not good if that's the level you want to see reject. You know what I'm saying? It's not really good, because you want to see a lot of activity at that level. You want to see like a big volume spike here. You want to see proof that people have identified it and are taking positions based off of it. You don't really see that happening here. Not yet. Yeah, not really. I mean, it does look like you do have a small spike of volume here. It's bigger than these two and this one, so clearly there are people looking at it, just not as many that were active down here and down here, right? Those prices had a lot of activity. I wonder why. What are those prices? Let's go see. Here, let's do this, because this chart is so filthy. Let's go get a clean chart. Let's see what all the interest is here. It's not gotta be perfect. I'm just wanting to see if there's like a higher time frame level. Not really. I mean, it caught a couple swing lows over here. But that's it. Swings here. So it would have been an old weekly support, but it broke down there. Held there, broke down there. So people were trying to short there, looking at an old support zone, I guess. It's also an old 2-week demand candle. It is December's open. That's what it is. That's why there's a lot of activity there, I guess. It's December's open. Got it. It's also just Fartcoin's open. Looking at the 6 month, you can clearly see that it is a 6 month demand zone. Okie dokie. I didn't know that. Well, I'm glad I seen it, at least. Now we know why they're buying it up right here. You might want to move your expectations up a little bit instead of looking to buy the August volume weighted average price, which is down here. You might want to watch right there. I mean, clearly. And the best thing about that is volume was heavy there. Heavy volumes. Heavy volumes. See, on this, the volumes are not as big as they were. This is just standard volume. This isn't an average indicator. So why on my other chart does the average indicator say that more volume was thrown down there? Maybe it's the time frame. No. There you go. On the 5 minute, literally says more volume was thrown down here. I don't like that. I don't really use volume for my analysis, not volume by time. I use volume at a price more often than I use volume by time. I just know there's a lot of people in the community that does look at volume by time. For me, volume by time doesn't help me in my strategies at all. This does, really, because I mean, it helped me identify a level that I didn't even know existed because I didn't look for it. It's a very old level. The reality of it acting as support today is probably not the reason, because if you look at yesterday when we traded down to the level, you did not see a spike in volume. It's only today. I would say people were trying to buy the low. When this candle started to push, they probably jumped on and started to try to buy the lows. All right, did Ethereum roll over yet? No, it isn't. It did get upside continuation from the volume weighted average price. Now you want to see if that holds a support. I would not be a buyer there. That's too high up on the daily range expansion already. But Ethereum is down 1.5%. So in theory, right here's your daily open on Ethereum. And on average, Ethereum has been moving what on a daily range? So if this is your daily open and Ethereum's been moving up 1 to 1.5% per day, in theory, you could target 1.5% from that line. I wouldn't, because this downside expansion was large. It's already a bearish engulfing, and it will be a bearish engulfing as long as you're trading under 47.51. It will be a bullish engulfing if you're trading above 47.51. That would be a crazy looking bullish engulfing, wouldn't it? Oh my goodness. Huge downside wick. Do something like that. That's what you would have on the chart. Damn, that would be crazy. Yeah, I wouldn't anticipate that happening today. Today's move was already pretty extended. We can look, that's the good news. We can look and see exactly what the average true range of Ethereum's daily moves are. And right now, on average, Ethereum is moving about 220 points per day on average. So we would be going from the open here and pushing down to 220. That would put you right in there. Right there, 220 points. So that's what you would be looking for on average. And then also 220 points higher, which would put you roughly about there. But I don't think you're going to see it move 220 points higher after it gets to the open. You could, but that would give you a fresh all-time high also. If you did get that move, you would have a fresh all-time high. Let's move up 220. Yeah, you would have a, not only, but that's also about halfway up in between 220. Yeah, that would give you, that would give you a breakout above all-time highs. Yeah, that's all-time highs on the Coinbase data feed. That's all-time highs. Are we all-time highs on every data feed? Probably, right? Yeah, there's the Nance. The Binance. Yep. All-time high right up there. Anything is possible, but I mean, that's a huge move. You've already moved more than 200 points to the downside. To move up another 200 points would be a gigantic move, but you had a gigantic move here on Tuesday. So what did you move total on Tuesday? $400 points, almost 369 points. So way over average. Way over. Big moves on Ethereum. Let's go. Let's go. Yes, fresh high of day. Not fresh all-time high yet. 65.02 spot 50 is a fresh all-time high. You're 6 points away from that. Oh, sorry, 8 points. 64.94 is the tick. 64.94.75 is your tick right now. 65.02 spot 50 would be a fresh all-time high. But you are very bullish on the daily range now. Can it hold it? That's the question. Right here. I mean, you're back to up on the day. You just made a fresh daily high. This was your day high. Could this be a liquidation point for the markets to roll over? I don't know, man. You're way down here on your ADD. That's usually a support in a bullish market. You look to buy those. That's what happened. Remember, anytime you get a pullback on the S&P, 3, 5, and 10% corrections are buyable events. But with that being said, if you think this is going to be a liquidation, a fresh all-time high, and then it's definitely going to roll over because bears are awesome, then you would be managing risk from 64.92. That's the point at which you want to see failure, and you want to see a rejection beyond that. With the NQ, it's way up there. 24.068 spot 50. You got a lot further to go on the NQ before it becomes a rollover period. Look at this. This is NVIDIA. It's up on highs. It's coming into potential daily res. Your NVIDIA is. Daily res is going to be real close to 183-ish. I don't know that it'll hold, but if you were managing risk, that's where you'd be looking for risk to be managed. Gold is pushing back down to lows. Right? We're looking for a weak gold to help put a bid under risk assets. They're taking, just look at it as capital rotations, right? Rotating those gains from gold and putting the profits that you made on your gold trade into the riskier assets because they're getting ready to go. Getting ready to go. I mean, if cryptos are putting in fresh all-time highs, it's only a matter of time before your ES and NQ are, right? Which they have been all year. I wish the IWM would bounce off these lows, because this trade was up nicely yesterday. That was such a beautiful trade. We called that to perfection. We didn't call it. We anticipated it based on the heavy shorts. Based on the fact that they could not get downside continuation. Hell, they couldn't even make a lower low from this point right here for multiple days. They tried to push lower lows into here, but couldn't get it. So we bought it. Boom! Looking for a short squeeze. We got the short squeeze. Right back up above the yearly opening range. Right back up above 2022 yearly highs. All-time highs on this is much higher. Well, this is your new all-time high. So let's get off of this. There's your new all-time high. So much higher. Where is our max profit on this? It's got to be a spread trade also, right? It is. 235 is our max profit. Oh, up in here will be max profit if you took that trade with me, right? If you took that trade with me, then you will be exiting at 235. You can't make much more money than that. You will make very small money above that point. Very small. Once you're above your short spread, you stop making money because you're short that call, right? So you stop making money at that point. That's the reason for the spread. The spreads are so good because it helps you mitigate that risk, manage those gigantic price swings. So fantastic. But yeah, you get up into this area, you want to exit 235, sorry. 235 is a short put. What did I say? 240? No. 235. Right there. That's max profit. Oh, that's what I said. Okay, good. Moving on. This is what it looks like on the option chain. Right there. Boom. So once this, if not once, if this line pushes up to here, this line, you're in the money line, this orange line right here, if it pushes up to here, you're done. Get out. Because then your short strike will be in the money. You don't want your short strike to be in the money. So you'll pretty much be at max profit there, is what I'm trying to say. So that's the one downfall to spreads. It maximizes the amount of profitability potential, but at the same time, they are fantastic because they make the trade cheaper and the risk is just easier to manage. But I haven't been able to find that Tesla trade yet. I've been looking for it and I have not found it. Basically what I'm trying to do for everybody. Now, if you can afford the risk, then clearly you can take the trade now, right? Basically what we're doing here for the Tesla long-term trade, if we're expecting a 390 by the end of the year, then that's the top strike. That's where your short strike would be, right? But you need to go out in time, way out in time to put this on, because I don't think this is going to happen in the next couple weeks. I think it could potentially happen by the end of the year. So you need to go out to December at least. Now, if you want to shrink the price target, for instance, how long would it take us to get up to 367? Well, we've been sideways for 4 days now. But we could go sideways for another 4 days. So we could potentially look out 30 days and sell the 368s. You know what I mean? It would make the trade less profitable. However, it would still be a way to get in the trade. I just haven't been able to find the one I like the best. Let's see what a 45-day trade would look like if we sold the 370s and then we bought the 350s. That's a lot of risk for 43 days, in my opinion. I don't like that. Because once you get under 30 days of expiration, then your premium, your theta decay starts to go exponentially higher. So you start to lose more money day by day the longer it takes to work. That's why I like to go way out in time. So we could tighten it. You could definitely tighten it. So you could still sell the 370s and then buy the 360s. Now, that puts the risk much more manageable. And then on the chart, this is what you would see right here. So 370. Sorry. There we go. That's red. That's your short strike. And your long strike is 360. So that would be green. So basically, the trade doesn't make any money, and you will lose $270 if by expiration, which is 43 days away, you're not trading inside this spread. Right? So if you're not trading in this, you will lose money in 43 days. If you're trading down here, you lose all of it in 43 days. Doesn't give you much time, but you can see, like, on a really strong day, you could get there. You could literally get there in just a couple days, but that's only if the breakout holds. Now, if it starts to go down, you will also lose all that premium because you're up here. So that trade, once again, if you like it, if it looks good to you, if you think to yourself, oh, yeah, of course Tesla's going to get up here before 43 days. I mean, come on. Where does 43 days put us? Well, we're going to have to go out here. You got all the way until October. Yeah, I mean, you got quite a bit of time. That's still not 43 days. Right there's your expiration. Right here. Boom. So by this red line, you need price up in here. And that trade will cost you $272. And if you are right, it will pay you $725 up at $370. You probably won't get the $730 because of theta decay. So I would just say like $550, $575 that's if you get a fast move like in the next couple weeks. That's probably what you could expect. But this is like both the extremes. The extreme loss will be 272. The extreme gain would be 720. Not bad. That's pretty much better than a 2-to-1 risk to reward, and it gives you 48 days to be right, or 43 days to be right. You could set something like that up. I'm trying to get the risk under 250 and give it plenty of time, but I haven't been able to work that trade in, not without selling puts, and I don't want to sell puts to put that on. I want to be able to do it and only risk the 270 or 250. That's what I want my max risk to be, 250. I got to keep my eyes peeled on that fart coin, sorry, because I am not losing I'm not losing that $900. I'm taking that money home. All right, but we're good. We're still up. We're still up nicely on Fartcoin, as it's starting to chop a little bit here. All right, it ran up to that and it rejected. So we want to see that hold. We don't want to see higher 30-minute closes. If you're short Fartcoin, because I set that up earlier, if it trades back up into June's open or this weekly 21, it would be a potential area to add to the short, or in your case, put on a short. So if you took this trade, basically you want to see no more higher closes than this point right here. If you start closing higher 30-minute candles than this, then your position will be threatened. Clearly. I know that sounds like no kidding. Thanks for your help. But I mean, it is help. Because most people, when they get in the trade, they expect it to absolutely always 100% work. That's not how trading happens. You're still a bearish engulfing. I still like it to the downside. It's that simple. It's that simple. Until you get above the daily open, in my opinion, this is weaker than it is strong. Objectively, it is weaker than it is strong. Above this point, you're bullish engulfing. Then that changes the structure completely on this chart. That will definitely make people do different things tomorrow. If you want to buy Fartcoin, the area to be a buyer is down here, as that's your weekly volume weighted average price. This is your monthly volume weighted average price. August's open is right here. So you're still bullish for the month of August as long as you're above this point. So this would be a potential buying opportunity because you rejected here and set a fresh August low. So if the sellers were going to be in control of this, we would have expected price to reject right here. Boom. And then roll back over and head lower, right? If that's what we were expecting. And we kind of were. That's why I say intraday price is just too chaotic and not predictable, right? You cannot predict that. If we were looking for this trend to continue, this is where we wanted to see it reject. It blasted through there. It took about 3 hours to do it, but it did it. It blasted right through there. So now it's coming back in for a retest from the upside. So if you look at the August range right now, you're still up on the month. I don't know why you'd be buying this late in August. You're 2 weeks into the month today. Today's the 14th, so you're 2 weeks in. You should have already been a buyer. Last month in this asset, Fartcoin, was extremely bullish at the beginning of the month of July, and then it got extremely bearish the last half of the month. That's when you put in the top up here. Well, here's July 14. So you still had a couple days of bullishness and then boom, you puked it all out. So are we seeing a similar pattern here? Well, not really. As long as you're above the August open, you're still objectively up on the month. That's why this would be a buying opportunity if you think it's going to continue higher. If you think alt season is still here, it's good. Bitcoin's going to get right back up into fresh all-time highs. So is Ethereum. So is everything else. Risk, everything's going up. Then this is the area you would be looking to be a buyer. That is why we are failing to get beyond that point, at least for today. Like, that's as objective as you can get. So watch $1. It's also a big figure number, $1 on Fartcoin, and as low as 98.11. That's your buying op. This is your selling op if you're bearish. Right here. That's it. That's the only one. And the only reason is because you're looking for sellers to defend the weekly 21 exponential. You're down on the week right now. But it looks like this is a rejection. This is a weekly expansion failed. That's exactly what that is. You can see it right here. There's your weekly expansion right there. And it has failed. You closed the higher daily range yesterday. So this is your buy point right there on Fartcoin if you think it's going up. I don't know what it's going to do. I'm short today, right? That's it. Just based on rejection today. It had already moved up so much. And it just looked like it was struggling to go higher through here, right? So I'm short. Let me see, where is it on the 4 hour? Right here from this high. So basically, I just told myself this morning when I was looking at the markets around the London session, if we reject from here, the previous 4 hour candle's high, then I want to be short. Not knowing that it was going to continue to fail or not. I had no idea what it would do. I just said to myself, if we're under this, then this might be an exhaustive run higher. And if it is an exhaustive run higher, then we can expect the range price lower. I had no idea that we would get bad news at 8:30 and it would send it much lower. I was happy with that move, to be honest with you. I was ready to get out then, but I went back down. I laid back down and went to sleep because that's 2 o'clock in the morning for me. 2 days in a row, I've not gotten really good sleep. But if you look at a 30-minute period here, or a 30-minute candle, you can see where it started to fail here. All right, here's your 230. Push back up there, but couldn't close above it. Failed to close back above it again. So it was struggling. Here's your 5-minute chart. Couldn't even close a 5-minute candle above that. So that was easy to hold, right? If it would have started closing 5-minute candles above that, then I would have bailed. I would have watched this swing high instead. But it didn't do that. It was so easy to short there and just set and wait for a higher 5-minute close. If it doesn't happen, I keep the trade open. And it never happened. Boom, 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 bam. So yeah, there's a different ball game down here though, because you've got your August open here. You got your August VWAP and your weekly VWAP. There's a lot of bullish confluence down here. That's why it's struggling to break down. Also, on top of that, your Bitcoin dominance has completely given back all of that strength. That's a rejection. So I don't have a super uber bearish bias on Fartcoin, to say the least. Like, this thing is on lows. You're on daily lows. It's big down, not up. So this is not strength. This is weakness. And whenever you have weakness in the dominance chart, you can see alts get strength. They're not yet, but they're in the process of fixing it. You're not seeing like lower lows. On this you did, right? Well, it didn't make lower lows, but it did get pretty deep into that range. You've still not broken out of this range. So you could potentially look at Bonk as a short. I wouldn't down here because it's already down 10%. But I'm saying, like, looking at a chart like this in the future, say you're looking at a chart like this and the asset isn't down, it's still up on the day, right? Then you would just simply be watching for higher closes. As long as it's not happening, then you can sit in the short, right? If the closes start happening higher, then you're threatening higher prices. You'll never be able to predict what will happen in the future, not even one 5-minute candle ahead in the future. But you can definitely manage risk by just simply watching for higher closes. Like I said, it's already down 9%, 10% right here. That's a big move for Bonk. It's not the biggest move I've seen. I've seen a 20% move on Bonk inside of a day, but I mean, come on. I wouldn't expect another 10% drop today. It isn't dropping. ES isn't dropping. It's retracing from that liquidation, but it isn't like dropping hard. Not yet anyway. But it is retracing. So maybe that's all this was. You did not liquidate yesterday's high. You just liquidated today's high, right? Here's yesterday's candle. 1600 hours is when this candle closed. That was your open. Right there's your day open. So this wick high was your daily high on the futures market. So you just liquidated today's high and you're pulling back. And as long as you're below this, you are bearish on the day. So it is struggling to break out, right? So now we can watch and see if we continue to reject. Maybe right there. Will that be a 4-hour swing though? It is. Lovely. So if you spike back up to here, and there's a 5-minute close we can watch also. Lovely. Boom. So if you fail to close higher candles than 64.76, you could try a short. I don't know that it'll work, but you could try it. I wouldn't short it here. I would wait for it to get back up to here and then see what it does. Because if you close higher, then you know you're probably wrong, right? It's that simple. You're probably wrong. So you don't even need to take it. If you're trading above it, you don't even need to put risk on. But I'll let you guys make that decision. I've already shorted it once. Those are my rules when it comes to that on that product. IWM's rolling over here. So this is telling me that at least for the near term, these markets, the small caps, not loving that news. Small caps not loving that news. Rate cuts affect small caps much greater than they affect your large cap stocks. Your small caps, they do business. They're constantly borrowing and stuff like that to keep afloat. So it's showing a little bit of weakness here. Essentially, all you've done is made a fresh daily low. So if you go back up and make a fresh daily high, then you've just got an intraday chop slop here. And then our Amazon trades looking okay. It's pulled back off the highs. Apple's pushing lower, making fresh daily lows, but you haven't taken out yesterday's low yet on Apple. You're right at it. Like literally 230.82 is yesterday's low. You're trying to take yesterday's low out on Apple. However, Microsoft is still pushing up towards daily highs, and Nvidia is pulling back up off of daily highs. And your market watch is still structured more bearishly than bullishly as far as your S&P 100 goes. You still have 63 declining stocks and only 38 advancing. Now here's the problem with that. If those 38 stocks that are advancing is tech, well then the market could still be bullish, but it isn't. Apple's down on the day. We can see the ones that are down. Like Microsoft is up, but it's not up significantly. And Nvidia is currently up, but it's not up significantly either. But those two are up. Apple is down. Amazon struggling. Bitcoin also struggling to break out to the upside. So Bitcoin absolutely finding resistance at the weekly open, which makes sense. If you're going to close the week out bearish, you would want to see that spot fail. I honestly thought that would be too low. But your downside expansion could already be done on Bitcoin because you're already down 3.8%. Now, if the VIX continues to push, then that downside move could get much bigger. But the VIX is still relatively cheap. You're still under $15 on the VIX. You're still under that midpoint today. So for now, it looks okay. Right? We don't care if it spikes back up there. We want to see it fail there, and it is. If you're closing 5-minute candles above 1498, then clearly you could be threatening higher highs on the daily range. We don't expect that because the overall market is bullish. But it can keep you out of a short position as long as you're not above the midpoint on the VIX. Then maybe you do not want to short the S&P. Just trying to help. The 30-minute on Ethereum started to look like a spinning top candle and could be used for managing risk if your position is small. I don't look at candles like that. I don't know what a spinning top is. Let me go look at the 30-minute. Yeah, I don't know what you mean by that. Like for me, that would be considered an inverted hammer. Yeah, it is clearly rejecting resistance, but I still have that Fartcoin short open. So if Ethereum rolls over today and starts putting in lower lows, Fartcoin will too, more than likely. And remember, I got a pretty good sized position opened up on Fartcoin. So if it wants to give me a one time framing on the 4 hour for the next couple candles. Like if it wants to give me lower lows, lower highs and lower lows, lower highs and lower lows, the next 2 4-hour periods, I'll be more than happy to sit in this thing. More than happy. I'm up nicely, right? There's my short. Oh, you can't see that. Sorry. Right there. Up nicely, and up here is the short. So as far as I'm concerned, this is good. If it wants to give me downside continuation, I will take it. I will take it. And then this week will be a good week. But we'll see what happens. But I can't put more risk on Ethereum because mine got stopped out. When I get stopped out, I'm done, right? I don't try to force the issue. Unless it's like chopping around the level, then I will. But I entered this, if you remember, I got back into it with a full-size position. So in a sense, I took 2 shots at it. Now, I didn't lose money because my stop was set better than break even. So when this pushed up and created your spinning top, it took me out of the trade. I'm okay with that. I still have a short on, so I don't need to put more risk on. I'm good. All we can do in this game is manage how much we lose. That is it. That's all we can do. And the ones that make money are the ones that are better at doing that. That's how you make money in this business. Get good at managing your money. Once you get that, you will be a successful trader. Because these markets, especially Fartcoin, it provides opportunity every single day almost. This thing is moving 5 to 10% per day. All you need to make money is a 2% move. That's it. You get a 2% move. That's a damn good return on an intraday basis. Now, you're not going to get a 2% return every single day. You're going to lose some of your trades. You're going to get stopped out and things are going to happen. But on average, it provides an opportunity every single day. That's all I'm trying to say. That's why people love trading Fartcoin. That's why it has such thick liquidity. Because people are using that for a speculation vehicle. They don't care that its name is Fartcoin and that it's absolutely useless. What they care about is that it moves 5% almost every day. People like me, we love that volatility. Absolutely thrive on it. So yeah, I mean, if it's going to be a short, the way that I look at candles, if you're new or if you've never heard me say it, is there's only 3 kinds of candles. You have an inside candle, outside candle, and a trending candle. That's the only 3 kinds of candles. This is a trending candle, as it only took out one side of the previous candle. It took out this candle's low. Therefore, if it closes bearish, it's a downtrending candle. This candle is an uptrending candle, as it only took out the previous candle's high, not the low, just the high. So this candle was an uptrending candle. So both of these candles is one kind of candle. It is a trending candle. Your outside candle is your engulfings, right? When you take out both the high and the low of the previous candle. So this would be considered an outside candle. And of course, your inside candle is your choppy sideways candle when you don't take out either the previous candle's high or low. Right here is your inside candle. And that's it. You can look at all of these. All of these candles will fit in those 3 categories. They're either going to be trending inside or outside. Done. I don't need to learn what every single name of all these are. I can clearly see what's taking place. I just try to simplify it for other people. Like myself, I don't know what the definition of a spinning top is. I couldn't tell you. You could be right. What? It looks like an inverted hammer, right? I mean, or a hammer candle. Looks like a rejection candle. As more of the midpoint, it closed under the midpoint of that candle. That's typically when your trend is weakening, right? Notice how this candle closed well above its midpoint. Notice how this candle opened, pushed down into this candle's range around this candle's midpoint, and then went higher and closed up above its midpoint. So these two candles are signaling strength of trend up. This candle is signaling weakness because it had a very deep push well above this candle's high, but closed back under the midpoint. So it couldn't close up on highs like these two candles did. It closed on the lows of the candle. That's a weakness candle. It's trending to the upside, but signaling potential weakness. Doesn't always mean you're going to get a reversal after that, because this candle could have just traded down to this low and then instantly went back up and took out that high. So it doesn't always mean that you're going to get a reversal off of that kind of candle. You didn't get one here, for instance. You got the same thing here. You pushed well up. That would have been the midpoint, but you closed back under the midpoint. You even closed bearishly, but then 2 candles later, you went and took out the high. So it doesn't signal a reversal. It just tells you that the trend could be weakening. So at this point, moving forward, I already know this candle signaling that the strength of trend could be weakening. And we did one more liquidation and it did the same thing. It closed well under the midpoint. So at this point, I pretty much know until we start closing candles above it and pushing higher, the trend could be weakening. And it did. It weakened and ultimately rolled over. That's why I shorted it. That info. Give me 1 second. I have to take this. Okay, I'm back. But yeah, I mean, you can, I'm sure there are a million different names for these things, but for me, it was just too hard to remember all those things. And plus every single name on a candle is going to have a context or what is expected to happen, right? So I just found it much easier to learn those 3 styles. It's either trending inside or outside. And then from that, you can build a strategy. And that's going to be the same on every time frame. It doesn't matter what time frame you're looking at. It's going to be the same. Going to be the same. So Ethereum is pushing deeper. Clearly, obviously, I wish I wouldn't have gotten stopped out, but it is what it is. Fartcoin is not rejecting. Not yet. So what's going on here? Up here with the dominance? Not much, really. Not much, really. That's why Fartcoin isn't really doing anything yet. Bitcoin is rolling over, and so is risk markets. So S&P's back under its intraday VWAP. So literally just by watching today's swing high could have provided us with another opportunity, but I already got stopped out. So my rules tell me to wait till tomorrow. So it is what it is. I want to make sure that I don't give back my profits. But yeah, things are starting to look a little bit more bleak. Nvidia is pushing under its midpoint. Apple's coming in for not midpoint, but VWAP. Apple's coming in for another VWAP test to see if it wants to act as support. Sorry, Microsoft. And then Apple is on daily lows, but at the bottom volatility band. Tesla's breaking down. But this is going to, the more it does this, it's going to look more and more like a triangle pattern breakout failure. Right? This is our first area of support. The very last area of support would be here. Anything lower than this, we no longer like it to the upside. Because on the very near term, your trend, where the blue line is, the 100 EMA, your trend could be reversing. Now, this could just be a bear trap. Let's go look where we are on the daily. Okay, so you're well above the 21 EMA on the daily time frame. Yeah, this is about as low as I would want to see it go. Because either way, I mean, you do this quite often when you're in a range. Notice how you got a big strong push and then you came all the way back down to the 21. If you're doing the same thing here, then we don't want to buy that. We don't want to step in front of that. So we'll use this as our last line of defense for Tesla longs to put on that risk trade, because you're just testing the 200, and sometimes that happens in the context of a trending asset. Right here, you tested it and it was a perfect buying op. Now, it didn't break out. 2 days later, you lost, but I'm just saying we could see something like that. It also held support there. So maybe, right? We'll see. We'll see what it does. This could be the last gasp of sellers also, though. All right. Is there anything that you all want me to look at? I'll be ending the stream at about 12 o'clock. So if you got assets you want me to analyze for you for potential trades, like if you see a setup and it fits the rules for the strategies that I trade, let me know. We will go look at it, and if I like it, we will put it on. We'll put the trade on. I've only got 3 positions opened up in as far as options go. I could put more on. Gold is starting, or GLD is starting to break down. So that one's starting to look pretty good. I would love to see it get downside continuation, taking out Tuesday's low and get a deeper push. I would love to see that. I don't think we'll see that today, right? As you've already pretty much moved about the standard range of the day. So more than likely it'll probably find a bottom and then just trade back up for the rest of the day. It's going to be a very big breakdown day, then clearly it could push lower, but I would definitely not be looking for fresh shorts down here, as you've already pretty much extended the day's range. I mean, that's about how big all these days are, right? Except this day. This day was different. That was a massive expansion candle. So was this one. But the other ones are about the same size. So you've already done that. So I wouldn't be looking for fresh shorts down here. Maybe tomorrow it gives you that continuation move. Maybe tomorrow we can get out of this thing. That is if the dollar continues to be strong. It's only strong today. But it found support at July's 618 retracement. We still got plenty of time on August's close. But if we're trading above 98.23 on the dollar, we are thinking you're probably going to see the dollar rally into the end of the month. Right? Because this is the midpoint of July's candle. So this is where we want to see support start to hold on the dollar. If you break down below this point, then you're probably looking for July's lows, which is down here. So basically, these 3 areas are where your August buyers of the dollar are still okay. They're still more than okay. This is still a very good opportunity for buyers if they think if they think August is going to be an expansion month. That's why we want to see Bitcoin hold its midpoint. This is August's range. We want to see the midpoint hold, because if it fails here, then it's suggesting that even though this month is up, it broke out, because it broke out above the old all-time high. So this is a breakout and fail. You retreated right back into the previous range. And not only did you fail, you got a pretty nasty looking failure. This could be a bear trap. As long as you're above August VWAP and August open, it could still be a buyable opportunity. We've seen bearish engulfing candles in uptrends. They happen, right? And then you end up going on and making fresh higher highs. It's a trap until it isn't. We'll think that it probably isn't a trap if we see downside continuation tomorrow. Like if you end up closing down in here tomorrow on Bitcoin, that will look like a rejection. But you still have a long way to go before the uptrend is considered invalidated. Like this trend line is an invalidation point. As since you put in the April lows, this trend line has held all lows. And then this trend line is coming from these two swings right here. It did hold price down in here, but there was your breakout point. So you can kind of see where you got trend invalidation. If you get that, that could cause heavier sell side pressure, as people might be like, well, that's probably it. I'm getting out. I don't think that's it, but we won't know. Only time will tell. It's the same as an inverted hammer indeed. Oh, okay, cool. Nice. Could you look at SMR? Looking to buy the weekly support. Absolutely. Is that a stock? New Scale Power Corporation. And you specifically said weekly support. You are into it, but here's the thing. You're coming into it with a lot of steam, a lot of downside momentum. If this is it. Is this a crypto? It is not. Okay. So yeah, the chart looks good long term. I mean, it hasn't been trading very long. It looks like it started in 2021. I don't see a dinosaur here, so I don't know if that's the end of it or not. It looks like it. But it looks like a relatively new company. The chart was looking fabulous. It looks great. It's got a lot of downside momentum coming into that weekly support zone. You still look great on the year. So it might not matter that much. So last year's high will be very important, as that's right on the midpoint of this yearly expansion. So far, so good, right? It looks okay. Here's the thing. You're trading under July's open. So you're threatening July's lows. Okay, so right now, I couldn't be a buyer because since you're under this monthly candle's open, you're threatening that candle's low. It doesn't mean you will hit it. It's just threatening it. So I would have to at least wait for support to build before I could buy it. Like, this is a lot of momentum. This thing opened up in August and has been going lower ever since, all month long. They're selling it for whatever reason. Could it be profit taking? Of course. You open the year up at $18. I mean, your yearly high is $53. That's a phenomenal return on capital. Just looking at that, you can see it's almost a 200% return just from the open. If you bought the bear market in April, the bear market lows, that's an even bigger return. So 380%, they're just taking profits, right? They're taking profits. They're figuring the expansion for the year is probably done. Or at least for the month of August, they're definitely done. So weekly support needs to hold before I can buy it. I would not buy it today. Not buy it today at all. It's got too much momentum. And then this right here is the target. That is your July low. So sellers are trying to push it down into that. It's been a one-sided trade for multiple days. You're probably, you're getting close to being oversold on the daily time frame. You're oversold on the weekly time frame. Trying to look. So back here was a period when you got oversold pretty severely here. And they couldn't really get anything going to the upside. And they hit it again one last time. That was in April. Is that bearish div? Yeah, kind of. Not really. No, sorry, it isn't. That's a lower low. This little swing is divergence. I wouldn't maybe wait for that. Maybe wait for a 4-hour divergent signal before you become a buyer. I mean, that's the best I could say. It doesn't mean you're going to make money on this stock. They had bad earnings. That's causing the near-term downside pressure. They had earnings just a couple days ago. A week ago, right? And they missed pretty bad. They missed almost 15% top line, 30% bottom line. That's a pretty significant miss. I don't know what this company does. Don't know, don't care. As far as technicals go, I would have to wait for at least a 4-hour bearish, bullish divergent signal. And then if I could pair that up with an objective level, one of these three, then maybe, I could put some risk on. But you can't yet because you're getting an expansion today. So if you try to buy it today, you are likely going to get ran over before it ultimately finds the bottom. That's what you need to wait on here. So let this find its bottom by putting in a bullish divergent signal and make sure you're buying it against an objective level. I don't know where the divergent signal will happen. I don't know if it will happen, but I would have to wait on that at least. So what you're gonna have to sit through is if it does find support here and starts to go back up into this area, this is where the sellers could show back up again. So price might only be doing something like this, but it might look like up in here. And if you only get a very small rise, then I definitely wouldn't buy it because I would expect another downturn. So just wait for that divergent signal or wait for the sellers to be completely done. This is a lot of momentum. It's also a 2 standard deviation move as far as if you were to give it a measured move. You're hitting that now. So maybe the sellers chill on it for a bit, right? So you can see you're beyond your measured move lower. So they broke down here, it came back up into the retest area, and then they hit it again. That's where the sellers sold it again. Just look at your RSI right here. They sold it again, and there's your trending move. So you've gotten a measured move off of that. But you've been making fresh lows down here. So, yeah, you just need to give it some time, or at least let it put in a low. Maybe wait for a divergent signal and then buy it. And make sure you put a stop on, because the sellers are hitting it very hard. It doesn't look great right now. It could look better next week or the week after, but right now it looks pretty rough. You just have to ask yourself also, what is, I mean, this stock hasn't really been trading long enough to say that $33 is a good value. NuScale Power Corporation, I don't know what that is. I've never heard of it, so I don't know if it's cheap or not at 32 bucks. The market will tell you eventually when they think is cheap enough to be a buyer again. I want to know what SMR does though, real quick. NuScale Power Corp. It's a publicly traded American company that designs and markets small modular reactors. It is headquartered in Tigard, Oregon. Tigard, Oregon. The company's Voyager power plant, which uses 50 MWE modules and scales to... Do you work for this company? Like, this sounds like a power generation company. I mean, not like AEP or something like that. It sounds like a company that makes, well, modular reactors for nuclear power plants, maybe. I don't know. If you work for this company and you plan on working for them a long time, then you know more about it than I do. I don't know anything about it. I don't know if they're profitable. We can check to see if they're profitable. If they're profitable, then it's probably a good buy. They are not profitable. Not yet. Looks like a startup, as it's got a negative income. I mean, they do good on sales, but their overall income is still negative $124 million. That's not great. That means they're losing $124 million. They're not making money yet. So maybe if it's a new company, maybe they do something in the future to start making money. Or just do what I said and wait for that bullish divergence on like a 4 hour or something. Just make sure you manage your risk. Make sure you're putting a stop in at the price where you want to stop the pain. That's always advised. Do not just buy this thing thinking that the lows are in. Because if you do that and it gets down into 18 bucks, you will have lost 50% of your money. That's a big loss. We don't want to see you lose that money. So always use a stop. There has to be a point always where you cannot refuse. You do not want to lose any more money. So wait for the signal. Wait for the signal. We don't have it yet. Buster G, can you read my comment from earlier? Bitcoin rejected off the monthly upward sloping trend line dating back to December 2027 top. 2 months in a row it's rejected there. I used the 2017 top wick and May's 2021 top for the trend line. Thoughts? (2017) and 2021. I think I've already looked at that. Isn't that... Okay, let's see. No, I haven't. All right. So you got a trend line coming from way over here. My opinion on trend lines are they are subjective. Like, that's my main opinion on them, all of them. Right? But you should know that. You've been with me for a long time, but I will look at it. I mean, that is April 2021's top. But you said specifically 17. There you go. So right there. And then May's 21. Why would you use May? Why not use April? That's why you didn't use April, because it doesn't touch. Okay, it does touch April's high on regular, not on log, on regular. Maybe you meant April. I don't see why you would use May's top. I mean, that's so subjective. Nobody else on the planet is drawing a trend line like that, but we'll draw it in. I'll just color it green or something. I mean, that is completely subjective, right? Because you just let it go right through all that. Let's just make it like blue. I don't know. Well, it's not that, because you're well above that. So you're probably misprinted or mistyped. It's probably this. I've already done this trend line. Like, you can also bring this trend line from all the way back there, right? Here, let's go to the monthly and just so you can see what I'm talking about. This is not the BLX index. I do not know why it keeps doing that. But there's a trend line that literally goes from right through here, like, right? Boom. Yeah, I've already seen this trend line on many thumbnails. I even used it myself. Here, I'll show you. So we've already discussed it more or less. Right there. There it is. All right. But yeah, let's go look at yours specifically, which is just from there and there. Yeah, I mean, it's rejecting. What more do you want me to say? We already know it's rejecting. We know it's rejecting. We don't need this trend line to tell us that it's rejecting. We can look at last month's high, which was your all-time high. You are rejecting it. See? And that's not subjective. I don't need to know which dates to mark a trend line from. All I need to do is look at last month's high, as that was your all-time high. And by doing so, I can simply go into the daily time frame, which is right there, and see, well, we made a higher day close yesterday. This is the highest daily close of all time for Bitcoin. As long as you're trading under that, you're rejecting. As you need to be up above this to be able to say you're seeing upside continuation. It is rejecting. My thoughts are Bitcoin is rejecting all-time highs. My thought is this is an outside candle on the daily time frame. My thoughts are you have become bearish on the week, which is not great because there's a ton of weekly resistance right here. Moving forward, people are going to be shorting that. All right? I don't know if they'll be right or wrong when they do try to short it, but I mean, there's a lot of objective price points we can clearly see that it's rejecting. That's the reason I came in with a near-term short side bias today. Just today, though, I'm not looking for this to continue. As long as the VIX is under $15, like if the VIX closes, which it probably isn't now, it's right at. So remember, as far as objectivity goes, we are monitoring the VIX's midpoint for the daily range, because objectively, if you close above this point, you're going to have a strong close on the day, on the VIX, which the VIX is a volatility index. It literally tells us that volatility is expanding today. So yeah, you're right. It is rejecting that trend line. It is also rejecting last month's high. It's also rejecting yesterday's high. It's rejecting all of that. There are no buyers up there. I'm sure there are some. I guarantee you someone bought Bitcoin at 120K. Well, no, they didn't. Not today. They did not. Oh, wait. Yeah, they did. What am I? I'm looking at the daily low. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guarantee you someone bought up here. I bet someone bought Bitcoin at $124,531. I bet you there's 20 people that bought there. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's clearly rejecting. You're rejecting your weekly volume weighted average price. Your price is trending under this. Like, it's rejecting. Today's a rejection day. You're under yesterday's lows. Yesterday was a great looking day. It was a breakout and it closed above. It set a fresh high day close. This was your high day close. This was your high day close. So you were trending. This was the high day close that was set in July. You made a fresh high day close on Tuesday, then a higher fresh high day close on Wednesday. And then Thursday, you made a fresh higher high and rejected. And with downside continuation, like you're under yesterday's low. That makes this candle a bull trap until you're trading back above the highs. So sellers will be attacking Bitcoin moving forward. They will be on it. Your short sellers are going to love today's move on Bitcoin. I don't know if they will win or not. We are looking for Bitcoin to take out this stuff at least before it starts to head back up top. It might not get down here for a week or two, right? It could get down there, but it could take some time to get down in this area. We want to see what happens to Bitcoin once it gets down here. If it gets down here and stops putting in lower lows and lower highs, then we can buy Bitcoin at around 114, 113. Now, it won't look good to buy it down there because that's down in this area. Right? That's last week's open. So you'll be down around last week's open. It won't look good. It'll look like a massive rejection depending on how fast it happens also. So here's one day. If you get down here by like 2 days, like say you get this tomorrow, that will look like a fall off. That will look like a massive rejection to retail. They will absolutely love shorting it, but it's not over yet. It's not over until it's over. Right? If the S&P 500 can pull back as low as 10% and it's still a buying opportunity, then say Bitcoin can pull back 15% and 20% and still be a buying opportunity. It depends on what happens as time goes on. But yeah, for today, they are definitely rejecting that up there. We've seen the last 2 days as far as ETF inflows. It wasn't much. It wasn't huge. So right now, I would only look at this as a profit-taking move. That's it. That's all you can say for now. Objectively, as long as it's above August's open, it's still bullish on the month. It's just looking pretty rough at this point. But it's still holding August's midpoint today. There's something that could be said about that by itself. Today ain't over. If Bitcoin closes back up in here, this will not look like a massive rejection any longer. It just depends on how it closes, I guess. But I don't have a bearish bias on Bitcoin. I will start having a very near-term bearish bias on Bitcoin and risk markets if we are consistently closing daily candles above the VIX 1720. Right here, 1721. As long as the VIX is under this yellow line, for me, I have a long-term bullish bias. If we start trending above this point, then I will say I will be bearish AF, right? I shorted the markets today, so you know I will make money if it continues to roll over. But as far as am I bearish on Bitcoin because of what it did today? Absolutely not. It's a standard profit-taking day. Anytime you breach all-time highs and reject, you're just seeing people take profits, causing selling pressure. It's not short sellers that are pushing Bitcoin's prices down. It's people exiting Bitcoin trades that's pushing prices down. It's people taking long trades and closing them at highs. That's what forces the price lower. Your short sellers help it, right? Of course they help that. They exacerbate that move. So, I mean, it's sellers and shorts, basically. And yeah, today they're winning, but that doesn't mean they will win. I won't even start to get super bearish. Like, I won't even really get super bearish until you're like closing dailies above that. As long as you're still closing dailies under 1658, you have to be a buyer on the ES. Because that is the trend. It is still in context of an uptrend. Now, more data moving on in time. Like the Fed, I am data dependent. So if we continue to see inflation spike moving on month over month and year over year, if inflation starts to spike and job numbers start to go up, then clearly I'm going to have more of a bearish bias. But we only ticked up 0.1% on inflation. It was goods that ticked up so much. Like they're above 3.1. That is concerning on the near term. That is why you're seeing a little bit of profit taking on Bitcoin today, because of that news that we got, the CPI news that we got Tuesday. That's why people are taking profits today. That's why people are taking profits across the board. You see people taking profits on Ethereum. You see people taking profits on S&P 500. Like, you're into resistance. It's just a normal profit-taking day. Right here, everybody thought the market was done. Look what it did. It went right back up. So the market could come back down to here, and I would still be a buyer. 3%, 5%, 10%. I will still be a buyer. The main here went a gold coin. The main reason why, right? 3%, 5%, and 10% corrections are buying opportunities. The reason for that is so simple. It's because you already got a bear market this year. On average, looking back in history all the way back to like the 20s, you get a bear market about every 3 to 5 years. We've already got one this year. We got one in 2022 and we got one in 2020. So on average, in a 10-year span, we've already gotten 3 bear markets for this decade. We've already gotten them. People are so much looking to be a bear. Because for what? They have no reason for it. They don't know why. They just want to. There is no, like, I did it yesterday or the day before on Grok. I asked Grok if it was a human, would it short? And then basically, statistically, the answer is no. Statistically, the bear market has already come for this year. The odds of that happening again are astronomical. So this is just a profit-taking day. You can short it. You can make money to the downside starting at London session today. If you could go back in time, you would, and you would short Bitcoin, right? And you can continue shorting Bitcoin as long as this high stays intact. As long as you're making lower highs and lower lows, Bitcoin can be on the very near term a short. But at some point, it will find support. unless people are concerned about inflation. And we've already looked at the ratios, and this week they are not. Now that might change next week, but as of right now, everything still looks good. Okay? There's no reason to sweat yet. No reason to sweat yet. But yeah, it is rejecting those highs. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys, I'm going to have to wrap it up because that phone call I have to take, I told them to call me back at noon. It is noon. You make sure you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I'm going to continue to hold the fart coin short until if it starts to gain support, which it is holding support. You are failing to make closes on a higher time frame basis lower. So if that happens later on in the day, then you can just go ahead and say, yeah, he's still holding that short. If we start closing bigger time frame candles, like 15, 30-minute candles above this stuff up in here, I'm getting out of my short. All right. I might even, if it does continue to hold support throughout the day, I might even look to go long on something like Bitcoin or Ethereum, depending on if support is holding. Because as far as statistically, Ethereum has already moved down much more than a standard day's range. So unless something major bad happens today, some kind of terrible news, I don't think you're going to see lower lows. You could, clearly, but I don't think that will happen. So yeah, we'll wrap it up. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you guys trade safe, trade smart, and as always, happy trading, everybody.